Hello everybody, it's been a week since I last uploaded something, so I thought, today uh let's go over some channels, let's do some videos. So today I want to talk about Gothics. As you can see right now on screen, Gothics is a conservative. It's just that plain simple. Um, she is apparently, I think, Christian. She has a lot of anti-gay, anti-trans content. Uh, Here you can see her. She's in favor of the Don't Say Gay bill. She's against normalizing sex work, which is often a progressive talking point. Um, let's see. Uh, yeah, anti-vax as well. Like, she would be against the mandate, but I probably think she's also against getting vaccinated against COVID. Like, she's just conservative. I think she also did a video on why I voted for Trump. In defense of Candace Owens. They want to brainwash your kids. I don't know what this specifically is about, but I think it's either going to be CRT or transgender issues. Against critical race theory, I guess. Let's just say she is just conservative. There's nothing special about her just because she's black or she looks like not exactly what you would expect from a conservative. Doesn't mean shit, okay? You can see clearly from her content she is conservative. Like, I think she calls herself um, politically homeless because she doesn't have per se like a left or right ideology, but as we can clearly see in her content, she is right wing. Alright, she's conservative or anything else along that line. So today I wanted to go over this specific video, um, how the political left weaponize language to control the masses. Now, I haven't seen this clip before except for the first 10 seconds, so I don't know why this is all red, but let's find out what she has to say about this.
Hey everyone, my name is Gothix, and for today's video, I'm going to be talking about language and how definitions will sometimes be altered in order to further a political agenda. So, if you didn't know this, politics is always downstream from culture. So, this means that if someone has the ability to control language, they can then influence culture, which will then create legislation. So, it's very
So far, this is true. A great example of this is, for example, CRT, critical race theory. Conservatives have completely changed the meaning of what critical race theory means. And if you want to see more about that, look at the last video, the video I did on Gen Z Patriots. Okay, it's clear to see that if you go to Wikipedia even and look up critical race theory, it is not at all what Gen Z Patriot is talking about. It's not at all what conservatives are talking about. They are very effective at changing those definitions. Just let that be clear. Like, what she's saying is true, but conservatives have done this as well. Let's continue.
important for us as a society to be vigilant when definitions are altered so we can understand whether or not it makes sense to add to a definition or we're simply being manipulated into essentially handing our freedoms over to big government. Alright, so for today's video I'm going
Handing over the freedoms to big government. I don't know what she's talking about.
going to be talking about three phrases that you have probably grown very used to hearing the last couple of years. And we're going to talk about how these definitions have been changed in order to influence culture, which then creates legislation. So let's start with my favorite, anti-vax. There was a time back in the day that anti-vax meant something very specific. It was usually to define people who were against vaccinations, either for religious, medical reasons, whatever. Maybe they wanted to heal their sick child with twigs and berries. Listen, that's your prerogative. That has nothing to do with me. But because of COVIVI, Webster's Dictionary, among a few others, have altered the definition of anti-vax to also include people who are against mandates. Let me make this clear. They don't want you to make the distinction between people who refuse vaccinations or people who don't want to be forced against their will to take a vaccination.
Well, I understand that those are two different positions, but I mean, they basically have the same outcome. Right? So if you are anti-vax, you don't probably want to have it mandated as well. You know, anti-vax means that you're against vaccination, so you would also have to be against the mandate of vaccination, because that's the logical consequence of what you're arguing for. Right? Like, maybe I'm wrong on this, but it seems pretty logical that if you are against vaccination, that if it's getting mandated, that you wouldn't then just go, oh well, the government told me to, the government mandated it, so yeah, I'm gonna take it anyway, but I'm against it. No, I don't think that's how it works. No, because personally, I'm not a big fan of religion. I don't like it, but I don't want to ban it. Like, if you're anti-vax, then you must also be against the uh, uh, the mandate for vaccinated people. You know, I'm against religion, to say it quite blunt. So therefore, I am also against mandating religion. Like, I don't like a government who is, for example, very in favor of Christianity, or like the Islam, uh, or like Judaism, or Buddhism or Hinduism. I don't care. I inherently have to be anti-mandating a religion if I am anti uh, uh, anti-religion as well. You know. So if you are anti-vax, then you must also be against the mandate for vaccination. Like, it's implied in the same statement. Like, I mean, it's pretty simple. But she's going from the other way around. She's saying, I'm anti-mandate. I'm against mandating vaccines, but I am in favor of vaccines. So therefore, you wouldn't have to be anti-vax. But let's be fair, there is a huge correlation between those two positions, right? Because people who are anti-mandate probably won't take the vaccine as well. So therefore, they're anti-vax. It's not because that you're against the mandate that you're anti-vax. It's because you are against the vaccine. Clear distinction. The one follows the other.
There is a big difference here. So the question is, why did they change it? To put it simply, they want to condition the public into complying with whatever the government says. But not only that, they want the people who are pro-mandates to target the ones that are against mandates, essentially saying, you don't have a choice. You have to take this.
What the hell is this kind of fear-mongering? First of all, I don't even think it's the government saying it.
Of anti
Google it. Oh, Merriam-Webster. So first of all, I don't think this is a government website. So the government isn't changing this. So like it's not like the government is controlling the definitions. This is just a dictionary. This is just a company that makes dictionary and defines the meaning of certain words. That's it. So I don't know what the fuck she's talking about, the government.
Vax to also include people who are against. So the question is, why did they change it? To put it simply, they want to condition the public into complying with whatever the government says.
They want to condition people to comply with the government. What the hell? Okay, honestly, okay. In conservative circles, this is most of what they're doing, okay? They're just fear mongering. They don't have any specific things, they don't have any studies or something, they just say the government is going to do this and that to your children, to you, they're going to chase you, they're going to go after you, they're going to do this and that, It's all just fear mongering. Words change over time. Fine. This isn't even, by the way, this isn't even the first definition, because if I type in anti-vax definition, I get the Merriam-Webster. Oh no. Oh no. It literally has a fact check article. Oh my god, this is this making rounds. It wasn't I wasn't anti-vaxxer until they literally changed definition. Read the text of a Facebook post shared December 6th. This is even 4 months old. Okay, below tweet is a screenshot. Last amendment vaccination post online. The letter have this new change makes anyone who believes in biological control of your own body into an anti-vax. Read the caption of the post. Okay, so this is not true. I think okay, let's put it this way, because it specifically said on a person who opposes vaccination or laws that mandate vaccination. I would say that's pretty poor. A person who opposes vaccination and laws that mandate vaccination. Or more in the sense, a person who opposes vaccination and or has the position laws that mandate vaccination. I don't think this in itself makes you anti-vax. I don't know how to phrase it better. A person who opposes vaccination. Never mind. The post generated close to 700 interactions less than 4 weeks. Merriam-Webster did revise definition of anti-vaxxer in early October to change one word, but the version shown in the post is the old version. The screenshot in the social media post shows Merriam-Webster, which was implemented in 2018. US Today reached out to social media users who shared the post for comment. The main definition was revised from laws to regulations. The definition of anti-vax was added to the online dictionary in 2018. The latest update changed how it references vaccine mandates. According to the archive fiction, a person who opposes vaccination or laws that mandate vaccination. October 4th, a person who opposes the use of vaccines or regulations mandating vaccination. The reason for change from laws to regulation is that overwhelming Citational evidence shows that this term is used regarding vaccine policies for school districts, restaurants, concert venues. Oh, okay, okay. Uh, okay, partly false because they did change it, but they didn't change it substantially that the meaning got lost of it. Like instead of regulations to law. I mean, that's such a small difference. It's just like a technicality. Basically, they didn't change the definition of anti-vaxxer. Oh my god, this is really, 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 really easy to debunk. You can even see here. Where is the 2018 definition? Get as early as possible. This is even before COVID. This is so hilarious. This is 4 years before this video was posted. And she's wrong. She's just plainly wrong. This has been the case since 2018, and she's bitching about a change, which is basically a technicality that has nothing to do with the definition of anti-vaxxer. It's from laws to mandate. That's oh my. It's so easy because even if I Google it, I get the fact check. I want you to know, if there is a conservative ever showing something on screen, get behind it, know where it comes from, and look it up. Look even up the fact checks, if you can find them. Probably should be easy. It's incredibly easy to debunk it. And this is the first one, by the way. This is just the first of the three. And she's already thinking of a giant plot of the government interfering and doing this and that. It's a change that is not even as relevant as she thinks it is. Alright? Remember, always look up their sources.
But not only that, they want the people who are pro mandates to target the ones that are against mandates, essentially saying you don't have a choice.
Remember, she's talking about a change that never happened.
Have to take this thing, otherwise you're not going to be able to work, you can't go into this place of business, you can't be among society, you are excommunicated from the rest of us. That's what it says when they want you to put both of those people in one camp. Now that we talked about anti
Again, this is not even related to COVID, since the definition was there in 2018, a year before it even broke out in China.
vax being altered to further that political agenda.
I can't keep pausing it because it's 2018 and she's just making shit up at this point. It's just fear-mongering.
We're going to talk about racist or racism, all right? Now, as a black woman,
Nice it, Paul.
growing up, I've always heard black people can't be racist. And I always thought it was ridiculous, but I never quite understood where this stereotype or this urban legend manifested from. It manifested from people that want to weaponize black people for political gain.
Another thing, loaded terminology. Very important. Weaponize. It's such heavy loaded language. First of all, I just said itpol. If you refer to yourself, or if you use your identity as a validation for your opinions, that's identity politics. So basically, if you say, you know, I'm gay, so I am allowed to say I'm allowed to have the position that yeah, there, uh, um, what do you call it? Those camps where they put them in. I'm blanking right now. The conversion. I'm gay and conversion camps are good. I know that because I'm gay. Like that would be a form of identity politics. It would be like, hey, I'm black, so I know everything about racism, or hey, I'm black, I know what's going on. Like don't do that. Just look at evidence, hear the arguments. Don't do it, Paul. Can also be used the other way. Oh, you're Jewish, so I don't listen to you. Oh, you're black, I don't listen to you. No, don't do that. Just listen to the arguments they're making. That's it, Paul. Second of all, I've heard this one before, also like a million times. When they talk, I'm gonna let her talk further.
Democrats. If a white person says blank to a black person and you say that's racist, simply reverse it and the answer should still be the same. If it's not, you're being intellectually dishonest.
I do agree here that black people can also be racist. That's true.
So why would the left want to weaponize the word racism or racist and basically use black people as puppets? It's because
I don't see. It's always a plot. Use, weaponize. It's the government.
they want to give shield to bad behavior. So let's think about this for a second. Whenever I have called out a black person, another black person for being racist, they'll usually say, black people can't be racist because they lack the institutional power to do so. And then they'll point to a definition and say, hey, see right here. It says in the dictionary that I need the institutional power to do so and I can't be racist. So then they say, I'm being prejudiced. Yeah. As if that's any better. And what that is doing is it's giving shield to bad behavior. The next phrase I want to bring up.
Okay, so I think I need to address some points here. There are three types of racism, as far as I know. There's institutional racism, there is individual racism. Sorry, no. Institutional racism, interpersonal racism, and the third one I'm forgetting right now. So, the first one, institutional racism, basically means that because of history, because of the environment that has been in the past, currently there is still racism against black people. That's why she's talking about institutional power. White people have had most of the West, most of the time, and they were fucking over black people. We like the US had racism for 200 years, the Netherlands probably as well. Like, let's be honest, Europe wasn't like the best at not being racist. Like they also fucked up a ton of the world. That's a form of institutionalized racism. We have put black people at such a miserable place, and we have not fully addressed those problems that the system or situation they're in still affects their lives. That's basically institutional racism. Like, for example, redlining in the US. If you were black back in the day, you would probably be uh, um, put in a home in a black area, and it would be much more difficult for you to get a loan, much more difficult to get a job, it would be much more difficult to get a car, or all those sort of things. They were specifically put in a district that they would draw on a map with a red marker. That's a no-go area. That's not the people who we want to be associated with. And that still has its impacts today, because the people who now grow up in those red line districts still have poor outcomes. They also have, it's still a poor area because they couldn't grow economically. They couldn't really be well. I don't want to say be well introduced into society, but they they're just basically shunned off from the economic access from schools, for example, which are heavily reliant in the U.S. on the school district where you're in. If you live in a rich area, your school will be much better funded. If you live in a poor area, like for example a red line district, your school would suck. Like, that's a form of institutionalized racism that has not been addressed. Now the second thing, interpersonal racism, is just basically the racism most people associate with. If you say interpersonal racism, it could be saying the N-word to someone, to a black person, or it could be excluding someone based on their race. But it often is in an interpersonal relationship. Like, let's say you have five white friends and there's like a black guy, um, and you just don't like him. You don't know per se what, but it's probably his skin. And you say, no, no, we don't allow black people in our friendship. In our friends group. That would be interpersonal racism. It could, for example, also be with your job. It could be with basically anything. You know, if you personally exclude someone based on their race, that would be interpersonal racism. And it's important to note that distinction because I feel like she sort of conflated those two. Because black people can be interpersonally racist, but it would be pretty difficult for them to be institutionalized racist against white people, since they do not have the majority of the power in the U.S. Like, there's a slim chance that the minority, sorry, there are just very few people who are in charge, very few black people who are in charge of a large institution in the U.S. So we need to acknowledge that there are still um, that they don't have the power to be raised against white people, because that's not possible. They don't have the power to do so. And I don't mean this in like a negative way that they can't have the power, but currently, as it stands over a long line of history, like over decennia, it's not possible for them to be institutionalized racism. However, if you go to a black country, I don't know, like an African country, they can be racist against white people. They can be institutionally be racist against white people because they do have the majority of the power there in those countries. That could be a form of it. Or Japan. I heard Japan is pretty racist against black people. So then Asians would be institutionally racist, or at least Japanese people. But anyway, I'm getting off point. Let's hear her.
Up is Black Lives Matter. Now, this actually works in conjunction with racism being altered, and Black Lives Matter was named that way for a very specific reason. And the reason is that the name compels you to sign on board with the movement. Why wouldn't you want to support Black Lives Matter? It's in the name. Do you not care about black people? Do you think black lives don't matter? That's exactly what they wanted to do, which is why they named it in this way. So if anyone had any opposition to it, they can then say, oh, you must be a racist. You must be a white supremacist. You must be an oppressor. And also, by the way, side note, if you remember during 2020 with the George Floyd situation, what was the media calling it? Mostly peaceful protest.
Okay, point by point. The first thing, Black Lives Matter is a movement, I think, or an organization. I think they're both. But they are fighting for equality. They're fighting for racial equality. So it would be logical for them to name their mostly black equality. But I'm getting off the point. therefore it is a good name, Black Lives Matter. So they want to address the problems uh, um, with racism. They want to address the problems that black people are being fucked over. They are disproportionately getting killed by the police. They are having economic struggles. There are a lot of issues that they want to resolve, and as an organization, they want to explicitly say, hey, we stand for black lives. It's the same, for example, if you have an organization that is pro LGBTQ. In any of those letters, there isn't one for straight, because straight people are not being oppressed. They don't have any uh, uh, negative issues they have to face. For black people and LGBTQ people, which are a minority in the US, they need to be represented, they need to be active, they need to get some legislation done, they need to get some action going to secure that they are being treated equally as a straight, white, cis man might be. And that's the reason for the name BLM. But I don't get why I have to explain this honestly. I thought she would know how basic naming would work of organizations. Anyway, second point. BLM, after George Floyd, has been extremely peaceful. Alright? I acknowledge that there have been riots, that there have been issues, that there have been problems, there have been things set on fire. But you have to recognize the BLM marches for George Floyd were global. I think it has happened in every state. I think it has happened in almost every country, at least the majority of Western countries who were aware of this phenomena. This has not been just one protest. This has been protest all alongside the entire country and some part of the world as well. There have been, again, riots, there have been looters, but the majority has been peaceful. I should look this up, by the way. Uh, I can spell. Ta-da! 93% of Black Lives Matter protests have been peaceful, new report finds. This has been September 5th, 2020. Thursday by a non-profit that researches political violence and protests across the world. More than 2,400 locations reported peaceful protests, while fewer than 220 reported violent demonstration. The authors define violent demonstration as including acts targeting other individuals, property, business, or rioting groups or armed actors. The definition includes anything from fighting back against police to vandalism, property destruction. Highlights a recent morning consult poll in which 42% of respondents believe most protests are trying to. This disparity stems from political orientation and biased media framing, such as disproportionate coverage of violent demonstration. Yeah, so this is also a trick most people use, alright? Disproportionate coverage of violent demonstration. What this means is that if you just have, let's say you have 1,000 people. Let's say you have like I don't know, a thousand, a thousand gay people all lined up, alright? And two of them have, I know, mental health issues. A trick to do to associate gays with mental health issues would therefore be get those two out of 1,000 or out of 100 and continuously bring them up. Like, hey, gays also have mental health issues. Bam, screenshot it, video, put out, great, done. Let Tucker Carlson read it on the news, and now everybody will think, oh, all gays have mental health issues. All of those other 98 or 998 people are fine. but just those two will be zoomed in on, will be seen as the icon of gay. You know, like they will be seen as if they represent all the other people. That's really important because Gothics is basically doing the same thing. She's getting one picture in the background about how uh, uh, about how you see something burning during a BLM protest, and then saying, "Oh, this has been all of them." Well, clearly it's not. Now I have to know one thing. Uh, no. Oh, time. New York Time. I know. What's this site called? Time. Just time. Let's do time.com. Let's see. High factual reporting. So we can say that this probably is factual. Like I could also go into this study in all 50 states. Damn. 7,750 demonstrations. Oh shit, that's a lot. Fewer than 220 reported violent demonstration of this number. Fuck. Anyway, there are probably also some other people who have seen these studies. Um, if you want me to get more into it, just leave a comment in this video and I'll check it out. But for now, what she's just saying is an absolute lie.
I don't know what's peaceful about burning, looting, murdering, intimidation.
Murdering even. Okay, if that has actually happened during a BLM, I'd like to see some evidence instead of just saying this has happened and therefore this and this will also have happened. I need some goddamn evidence from her because currently what she's saying is just debunked, and it has been for like 2 years.
I could go on. Explain to me in what fantasy land is that a mostly peaceful protest? Are you?
Now I'm actually wondering what her take was on January 6th, honestly. Like, I want to see. It's been what? It's been a year. Oh, all right. Let's see. Gothics videos. What has it been? A year? When? When is Gen 6? Come on. Come on. Come on. Ooh. I don't see anything about Gen 6. Now, this is something I want to ask her. Gothics, if you're watching this video, which I doubt, let me know what you think of Gen 6, alright? I want to see if that was peaceful or not, in your opinion.
Hi. It was named in that way so it can deflect from what it's actually seeking to do. Exacerbate racial tensions, create sort of friction between people who were pro BLM.
No? Again, it's just a name. BLM, like if you don't support BLM, like probably you don't want racial equality, but that's not per se anything to do with the name. It's just about the movement and the action that it's taken to defend George Floyd.
BLM and people who weren't, and there is a lot of good reason for people to not be for that movement. Just look at what happened. And by the way, if you're someone that's
You're not in favor of the movement because just 7% of all the riots, of all the protests have had some rioters or looters.
still supports BLM, just the sentiment, you are the ideal person that these people wanted to influence when they named it that way. Because you'll still say, oh, I support the sentiment, but then you'll go out and you'll march in the streets for it. And then you'll also help raise millions and millions of dollars.
After the sickening George Floyd murder, $90 million poured into Black Lives Matter coffers in just 1 year. It just says below. She'd pay for the properties with money earned from public speaking and book sales. I don't know if that money was supposed to go there, but assuming that this is, I assume this is all legit. You know, like you can make pretty much from book sales if you're doing a good job. Like I imagine she would be doing a good job because, let's be honest, Black Lives Matter is now probably one of the biggest organization that's fighting for racial equality, especially after the George Floyd riots. It must, protest. Fuck, I keep saying riots. After the George Floyd protest, must have gone up in popularity.
For the founders to then buy multiple.
Use donation to buy 6 million Southern California home. I don't know. What was the last one? I want to know. First one was Daily Mail. UK, I believe. No, US. Wait. US. Daily Mail. Questionable source. Low factual reporting, and it has a right-leaning bias. Great. So this might not even be true.
Also help raise millions and millions of dollars for the
New York Post. Let's go. Mixed reporting. Right center. Okay. Okay, so this could very well be the case, and I would disagree with it if it was the case, and I would take the criticism if they say, okay, they're not spending the money of the nations on the right things. I agree with that. Still, this does not regard or disregard the entire movement. Be careful with this. Okay, just because something goes wrong within it does not disregard the movement itself. Alright? Even if a government is corrupt, even if there have been some shady shit going on within the government, does not mean that the government is like bad in itself. You know, that just means they're like lobbying, like every politician lobbies or is getting money to lobby for a certain bill. Like it's not good, but that means that we need to change the system, and it does not mean that the entire idea of a democratic government needs to be rejected. Alright? Anyway, let's continue.
Founders to then buy multiple mansions. I fail to see what BLM has actually done for the betterment of black people. I'm waiting. I'll wait.
Let's go. What has BLM done? Largest civil movement, yep. Since 2023. No, it is just about the organization. DBC News. Come on. Have been taken to tackle police violence and change the way laws are applied. Shifting budget away from police. Nice. In the UK, demonstration drew attention to UX colonial past and saw statues of people linked to the slave trade removed. So there are some things that I think are mostly about the movement. What has been done. So the removal of or glorifying colonialist statues, which I'm fine with. Like if they're being put in a museum, I think that's fine. Black history lessons with mandatory in Welsh schools from 2022. I think this is good as well. You know, have some. It's really nice to see some people who are getting to learn more about the world around them and about society and about how it impacts certain races or people. I don't know I'm not going to research too much into this, but I mean, she made this video. She must have seen something. Come on, you can't just make a video and say, I haven't seen anything that they haven't done. No, you need to research and search, hey, have they done this or that, and do I agree with this? Because she can just pick out any examples of so-called mostly of what she thinks are mostly violent protests. Well, she hasn't even looked into any fact checks or definition. Like, she's just lying at this point. It's so dishonest. Despicable.
Anytime now. Nothing positive came from it. Supporting the sentiment.
After the massive, just the movement, by the way. After massive riots, there was finally a trial for George Floyd. Like, I don't know. I don't have to recall the outcomes. But at least now there's an acknowledgement that that police killing black people who are innocent is an issue. It's been brought under the attention of a lot of people, which the slogan "Defund the Police" came from. It has had a massive impact just because of this, you know. And that's not even what they specifically do. This has just been one giant movement. And just one thing, which I already think is very, very, very valuable.
Or supporting the organization, it doesn't matter, it's the same thing. So this is where I tell people, pay attention to what they say, but watch what they do. Sure, Black Lives Matter, duh, but look at what they do. What is manifesting from this movement? What actually happened? A lot of bad things.
You don't even know what they're doing. You just... If she wanted to know, she would have found it. She just doesn't care. She just want to lie.
Remember when Obama got in office? I remember because I was one of those brainwashed individuals that just got their marching orders to must get the first black president in office, right? I had no idea what his policies were. I just wanted to help elect the guy. So I voted for him. No idea what his values were. But I remember what the conversation was when people had an issue with Obama getting into office. Racist, white supremacist, you're a bigot. Same thing with BLM. Oh, you don't support BLM? Racist, white supremacist.
I hate the way she talks. Can I just say that I hope you all agree, but this is fucking cringe. Alright. By the way, I feel like the same could be said between Hillary and Trump, because Trump has been pretty overtly racist and Islamophobic. Xenophobic, I think, would be a better term, but I mean, if you don't, like, I don't know what happened in the 2012 elections or 28 elections, but if Obama's policies are even close to that of Biden, and Donald Trump's policies would have been close to McCain, I believe, then yeah, I think those terms are pretty fine. Yeah, like if you don't support Obama, it could be, you could not be voting at all. I think then you're not a racist. But if you would be voting for like the racist candidate like Donald Trump, yeah, then I think it would be fine. Like, yeah, yeah, just it's pretty clear who the racist is if you look at the Republican or the Democrats. You know, like it's not that difficult.
Bigot. Okay? This is why I am so against people.
By the way, I do have to address if you vote if it's Bernie versus Obama and you didn't vote for Obama, and then you would be called a racist, then I don't think then it would be just Itbull. Then it would just be, yeah, I'm voting for him because he's black. Now, I don't like this well, but I don't think that's a scenario she's trying to paint here. I think it would be, now if you're talking about the final elections between two presidential candidates, then it's not okay. But if you're talking about like no, not the midterms, but like the pre-elections for which Democrat gets to be the presidential candidate, then I think the argument would be invalid and would be identity politics, unless you actually believe his positions are the best, or someone else's positions are actually the best. Like it's difficult. It's way more complicated than she makes out it to be. Okay, it's just she's trying to be condescending and fear mongering at the same time. You know, it's
looking at everything through the lens of identity, skin color, sexuality, gender. What you're doing is you're building a barrier around the individual so then I can say, you can't criticize me because Black Lives Matter. I mean, honestly, it's genius. It's absolutely genius. But that is why these people want to control the language. And so
who is they, by the way? Like, I know, like, in the titles it says how the political left weaponize language to control the masses, but she's just throwing it in the air. They are trying to do this. Like, it's again the fear mongering. They're trying to weaponize words. They're trying to change language so we're the bad guys now. Like it.
What I recommend everyone do is to be more vigilant and start using their intellect to actually discern what is true and what is false, what is right and what is wrong.
She says, well, I just debunked 2 of her claims in this video by a simple Google search. Right? Remember that, okay? She's just fear-mongering, lying, and being dishonest, okay? It's yes, use your intellect, but I'll never use it. It's basically what she's saying.
Pay attention to what they say, but watch what they do. You can usually tell if someone's bullshitting simply by observing.
Well, I think I've seen it.
observing their behavior. If there isn't a reason for you to bring identity into a conversation and you're just projecting because you think everything is about race, you are enabling this shield, and you could potentially be electing people that are going to push through legislation that ultimately will hurt you. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs.
Nope. Awful video. So I hope you recognize what you did there. It's just the same old conservative fear mongering. It's nothing special. It's just they are trying to do this. They are like, I want you really. I want you to be very aware of what she tried to do here. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope you're now more aware of how they use, of how their language is actually doing what she thinks the left is doing with language. Like, she's just been lying. Like, she has been called a grifter before. I don't want to throw the term out, but I mean, she must be so dishonest to not even know what the hell BLM, the organization, is doing. She must be so dishonest to not know that most of the BLM protests were peaceful. She must be so dishonest to not even look at a basic fact check article about the term anti-vax. Like, it's the only way you can do this is just being dishonest or being in the in like a conservative pipeline. Okay, she has actually been brainwashed by conservative media, because all of the 3 points she just brought up were in favor of conservatives. Those are conservative positions, and she hasn't even taken the time to look at any of it. She just made this video, thought it was a good one, and just posted it. I don't know how she does it, honestly. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. Um, Subscribe, uh, like it if you like. Um, I want to go over more of this kind of content. I think it's important to realize what she does, how she does it, and how other conservatives do this as well. Yeah, just be aware of what they do, alright? And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.